Make sure you guys talk really loud, project to the back of the room so that you go over the microphone.
Are these on? We've got 2 minutes. We have 2 minutes. We have time for announcements. How are you all today? Okay. How are you all today? This is no, come on. I was up really late partying last night. How are you all today? I'm Dr. Foreman. I am a world-class suicidologist and on the executive board of the American Association of Suicidology, where we take this topic very, very seriously. So seriously that we're going to have a little bit of fun and we're going to be just a little bit playful because your blood sugar has had interesting things happen in the last hour if you've been lucky, right? Before we really get started, we have like a minute or two. I just have a really big panel and they happen to know a lot and we only have an hour and I talk fast before the 5 coffees I have. So a couple of things for you to keep in mind. We are live streaming on the front page of Twitch right now. By show of hands, how many people know what that means? You are the best audience ever! Oh my gosh, how do we have this many people who know who Twitch is who are also suicidologists? I feel like a new day's come. So if you do not want to be broadcast, don't comment loud, but let us know. We'll talk to you later when we're not on the live stream, okay? Totally cool? All right, I just, always want to make people aware. And for the people on Twitch, here's the deal. We are so glad to be invited here. We care deeply about the issue of suicide. We know that suicide is the 10th leading cause of death, not only in the United States, but across the world. And we also know that it is a very heavy sometimes and very difficult topic. We want you to take care of yourselves, and we believe in you and trust in you. If you have any need for self-care, know that you can call 1-800-273-8255. That's the National Suicide Prevention Lifeline. I'm on an advisory committee there. You can tell them I said hello. And if you're a veteran and you press 1, you'll get to the Veterans Crisis Line, where, believe it or not, they put me in a leadership role. Hard to believe. We are so grateful that you are joining us. We are not just here for the suicidologists today. We will also be supporting the people who are on Twitch who are watching us and hopefully answering their questions, because technology is here to help us scale solutions at the size of the problem of suicide. Are you excited?
I hope so.
Then you gotta let me know. Are you excited? Are you ready to rock this panel? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I only do what I'm screamed out to do. Are we ready to rock this panel? Yeah. All right. We want to annoy all the other suicidologists. Dr. Craig Brandt is going to stop. Very serious researchers, but are we? No. Okay. So totally. So we're going to get started with our topic. We are so excited that you are here. Because many of you are on Twitch already, some of you probably already know in the audience that gaming communities are already playing a significant role in suicide prevention. They didn't wait for us. They are already doing it. And gaming is not a new thing. As soon as there were, how early were the first dice? Does anybody know?
Approximately 10,000 years ago.
There you go, folks. Gaming and technology have been happening a long time, and games bring people together. And where you have people, you will have somebody who's experiencing a mental health challenge or suicidality. What's wonderful about the gaming community is they're relatively open about this issue and recognize their needs, and they have already started looking out for themselves. It just took AAS a few years to get here. We should know that the gaming community online has millions of people and it's growing. Members of my panel, what do we know about that?
Well, we know that Twitch alone brings in millions and millions of viewers. We've had celebrities who are just bringing it in, like you'll see them streaming and have a million viewers right there off the bat. It's just amazing.
The last League of Legends tournament had more concurrent viewers than the Super Bowl.
That the last Dota championships offered more than a $10 million prize split between 3 winning teammates.
And at the American Association of Suicidology setting Phoenix, who I've followed for many years on YouTube setting, I'm sorry for the things that I did a couple months ago, came here with a wonderful young woman named Fenway. Fenway is a teenage girl. She lost 2 friends to suicide and determined to not see that happen again. She's organized gaming communities, right, all over the place and had them raise money for suicide prevention. And that young lady, she's donated, what, $15,000? Because she understands that gaming communities are very big and that they're in some ways as big as the need in suicide prevention. Gaming communities allow for unique social conventions and unique connections. Panel, what kinds of interesting things happen in the gaming community that we can talk about?
Gotta narrow it down. Interesting is a really broad word. Like, you want interesting, productive? Interesting, not so good.
Well, there's kind of both, right?
Sure.
Gaming communities they have culture. So if I say that I have played many times for years Animal Crossing New Leaf and Pocket Edition, or Pocket Camp, right? Like I have it on my phone right now, my husband, all of us, my family play. Animal Crossing has a very, very different sort of feel to it than, say, pick another one.
Division 2.
Yeah.
All right. Division 2 is the newest, hottest game out there. It's basically the Tom Clancy version of an MMO. So my friends and I got my best friend that's living out there in South Dakota, and I got another close friend that's living near in the area of Washington. So we'll have gaming nights. We'll coordinate it, and we'll sit up there and play and shoot bad guys and just kind of talk about what's going on in our lives. So it's
right, and on Animal Crossing, on the Pocket Camp, I will just hope that strangers all across the world will water my flowers while I sleep. You don't have to know what that means, but what happens is you develop shared languages and shared, someone out there plays the same game as me, I see you. Like the facts are that gaming cultures develop unique ways of behaving. We were just meeting, and then you said, you gave me like a wonderful, this was a psychology test he was giving me. Which one?
Oh yeah, no, if you're into like German board games,
like listening.
Carras or Settlers.
And I said, Carcassonne on my phone, Settlers of Catan on the table on Sunday afternoon. And you know everything about me, right? The thing is that gaming really has culture around it, and more so than ever, and it's like any other thing in mental health. It is a cultural competency. You are likely, if you run into a client, likely to have someone who may be a gamer and have gaming language and social connections around those games. And many gaming communities are already engaged in mental health and suicide prevention, just like Fenway, Spirit of AAS. What are some other ways, and they'll talk more about them, what are some other ways that they do this, panel?
Well, I'm going to chime in first, because take this. I'm proud to say this was the first mental health organization that served the gaming community exclusively, and we're actively involved in educating not only gamers, but clinicians on gaming.
Other ones there?
So the organization I work, we don't have that direct, we don't have an illustrator channel like Take This does, but we focus on how we can use games that are commercially available to help specifically teens to overcome the number of challenges that they're facing. And we know that that's a huge issue, and suicide is one of those issues.
Do you mean teenagers play games?
Up to 97% of them in the US.
I know, 97% of my 2 kids do.
With StackUp.org, we're a gaming community that's, the basis of our work is working with veterans and civilians alike. We're very much a mental health component, but I'm here to talk about the STOP program, where we provide 24/7 peer-to-peer support, crisis intervention, with our all-volunteer staff that's been heavily trained. We're here to provide that service to veterans, actually, and civilians alike. And it's been going on for about a year now, and it's been a very successful program thus far.
Yeah, all right, so are we doing introductions?
No, we'll get to those. We're
Okay.
right next. But are you warmed up? You want to know who these people are.
Well, as far as how the industry's already engaged in mental health and suicide prevention, we haven't called a lot of attention to it, but there are games that are specifically focused on aspects of that. Hellblade, Cessna's, I forget what. Yeah, that was all about someone going through the issues of psychosis and psychotic episodes. That was presented in it. It was definitely a game, level up, you get new skills and all that, but it's also a very nuanced take on what somebody dealing with that would look like. So we're seeing more and more of that in the industry as well, which is great.
Yeah, as a matter of fact, many games also have issues or have themes or storylines around mental health and suicide, and often take real opportunities to educate youth about suicide. Things that adults wouldn't know is that the gaming community actually really is working to destigmatize in a lot of ways issues around mental health or issues around living care for suicidality. But were you wondering who we're talking to? Not yet. Not yet. We're just warming up. Just a couple of things. I want to let you know what you're going to learn. Not that you didn't read it on your app. But we're going to talk about how we adapt games or adapt their current suicide prevention practices to gaming communities. We're going to understand a little bit about unique community cultures, or at least how to think about learning about a game and its culture. Challenges of suicide prevention in some gaming communities, and most importantly, the unique opportunities for suicide prevention in gaming communities. This is our wonderful panel. I'm Dr. Foreman. I work the Veterans Crisis Line as a clinical outreach specialist for technology and innovation, also on the executive board, and I'm happy to be here. Beau, would you please introduce yourself?
Hi, I'm Beau Pinkham. I'm the only one without any letters next to his name. My distinguished. I am with Community Crisis Services and Food Bank in Iowa City, Iowa. And I'm also in the, there we go. I'm also the chair of the Technology and Innovation Committee for AAS.
Oh, Kelli Dunlap.
Oh, yes, that's me. My name is Dr. Kelli Dunlap. I'm a psychologist. I also have a master's in game design, and I make games. I work as the director of mental health research and design at the nonprofit iThrive Games, which, as I mentioned earlier, we focus on using games, developing games, creating games to help teenagers live their best lives. So whether that's addressing mental health issues, social emotional learning skills, things like that.
Oh my goodness. And I will tell you, the teenagers are at my house, always gaming, like in a group. We have a lot of Nintendo splits, not gonna lie. Raffael, Dr. B, would you introduce yourself?
Yeah, I'm Raffael Boccamazzo, otherwise known in the gaming community as just Dr. B, and now that you see my last name, you understand why. I'm the clinical director of a mental health organization called Take This. I'm also the co-founder and administrative director of a specialized geek and gaming clinic in Seattle called SafePoint Behavioral Health. And I am a trainer of clinicians on the applied use of role-playing games, so I am a gamer to the core.
Wonderful, and this is my best for last. Frag-O, I've had just the best damn time this week.
Yes, it's been awesome.
I've actually known Stacka for a couple of years. Would you please introduce yourself?
Glad. My name is Matt Bergendahl. My gamer handle is Frag-O. It's a military term all into its own, but I'm here as a licensed clinician working with Stack Up and Stop the program. I'm the manager of the program and the initiative. Been working with them for about the past 2 years in the official capacity in the last year, and it's just been a great ride.
And can I just tell you, Stack Up really does a wonderful job serving veterans, and they're just the best to work with. They're fabulous.
Thank you.
Not the rest of you all are great. It's a special place in my heart. These are my panel members, and we're going to get to introduce yourself a little bit and what you're specialized in. We can go in order, or you can jump in. Panelists, what kind of suicide prevention and mental health support are happening in our gaming communities right now?
Well, okay, just jump in there. So, Take This, our whole mission is to educate and destigmatize. Okay, we want people to be aware that it's basically okay to not be okay. And that the only way that you're going to get help for a problem is acknowledging that it is a problem and going to seek that help. And so, what we do is, first of all, we do a lot of education at gaming conventions themselves. We do a lot of mental health oriented panels, but we also do a lot of work directly with game studios, as well as communities like Twitch. In fact, we've actually got a stream team. We've got a team of 11 streamers that are doing grassroots activism within the gaming community. And we're actually about to open up our applications again for our ambassadors this year. And so we do a lot of different things to just basically get out the message that it's okay if you need help. It's common. It's more common than you realize.
It's common and nobody deserves to suffer. And can I just mention, we're so glad to be streaming on Twitch now. It's pretty important for us to reach you all. Many of the people who are on communities like Twitch are young men, and that is a group that has high risk for suicide, especially as they age towards their middle years. And we know that suicide for them might be the second or third leading cause of death. And we're here because we understand that this is of critical importance to the public health of our communities, our live streaming gaming communities. This is a group that comes together, we know right where to reach them, and we're here to be friendly and see what they'd like us to do to help. Other members of our panel, what kinds of things are happening right now?
I'll jump in. One thing that I enjoy seeing in our Stack Up community is that it's very supportive. That, you know, a lot of folks say, well, you know, I'm not a veteran. It says, well, it doesn't matter. We're here to help you regardless of what's going on. And the community itself is based around, even though video gaming is the component that unites us all, it's the care that we give for each other in terms of support, feeling comfortable, and feeling, you know, accepted for where you're at in life or who you are. You know, we kind of joke about it. This is a no judge zone, and that's exactly what it is. So from top down, I'm talking from our CEO, Steve, all the way down to the newest member, we try to impress upon everybody that no matter where you are in life, we'll, you know, come in, we'll take you as you are. And if you have an issue that's going on, we now have a program that's, you know, specifically designed to help you out.
So for my work in particular, we actually try to go to where the teams are. And so, I mean, obviously, teams are playing a lot of games, but they're spread out over a lot of different kinds of games, which is wonderful. So we focus a lot of our work and our programs on trying to bring games into school systems to have the biggest impact possible.
You can't have fun in school.
We're trying to find that. I know, it's radical. Recently, we just launched a curriculum for What Remains of Edith's Finch, which is this really amazing, wonderful game. And if you have not played it, it only takes about 3 or 4 hours. It's kind of like a walking sim, so there's no shooting, there's no explosions. Actually, it's very simple controls, and you can really pick up and play. But the game itself deals a lot with topics of death and loss and family tragedy and curses. And so we use that as a curriculum for social and emotional learning in high school students. So how do you talk about that? How do you talk about not being okay? What's the language around that, and how can you communicate those things? And so that's just one of the projects that we have, actively trying to reach out to teams to where they are, and having games that are made by actual game designers. I can't underestimate how important that is.
You mean there's design to it? I can't just make one? You could?
Wonderful. I will say it might not get a lot of good reviews on Steam.
Probably.
It could be brutal.
Can I just give out a shout out for a couple of years for the game Undertale? My son played that, and which, if you talk about social and emotional development of teenage boys, this is a really fun game to play. Every young man that my son's age played that game, and it talks about the importance of the mother figure in that game. My son like painted me a painting of the game figures, like which I still have. Like games really do make a difference, and they make a difference to boys.
Boys are keeping it here.
Other folks.
I mean, I'm gonna take us down a little bit and just say that, I mean, I'm happy with the answers that we've gotten, but anytime you want to define the gaming community, you should stop because it's so big, it's almost indefinable. So there's a lot of this that we don't even know what's going on in some of these, you know, communities. There's mobile games that you are just immediately connected with 50 people as soon as you download the game and install it. And usually those are pay-to-win games, and I wouldn't really call them the best games, but you're still connected to a group of 50 people. And people might be opening up to those other people in those chats about any number of things. Who knows what's going on? So anytime we try to actually answer that question, we always find new innovative communities doing things, or these kinds of interactions just happening organically, which I think is both kind of terrifying in a way, but also really cool and something that we can really pounce upon.
I think it's also important to point out, and I'd love to ask the audience, who here considers themselves a gamer? Okay. Who here plays games? I'm talking solitaire, Monopoly, any, all of you.
Get your
Yeah.
phones out, we know.
So that's also something really important to keep in mind is that when we're asking about gamer communities, there's a very strict idea of what a gamer is, and not a lot of people want to identify or do identify with that. But my grandmother plays Freestyle on her tablet. My mom has like this casino arcade thing on hers, and she plays every morning, and so they don't consider themselves gamers, but they're playing games. And I think that's an important thing to keep in mind.
And people talk about that. So this past year was traveling a lot. Had a friend that had a lot of things happen to her, and I'm playing a game called 10-10. If you want to lose the next 2 months of your life, like, right? And so we would share scores, and she would do that while like going through a lot. There are lots of ways that people connect over games where you're playing, but the facts are that you're also connecting, bonding, supporting each other. Play is really important. And I'm just going to go through the names fast. I actually set them in order. But like, why be orderly? There you go, like rock stars. So there are unique challenges to serving the suicide prevention community, or suicide prevention needs of the gaming community. What are some of them?
I would say the biggest one for the STOP program is, we are depending on the person who's asking for help to give us the identifiable information that we need in case there's a duty to warn situation. Of course, they're at liberty to disclose as much or as little as they want. There has been circumstances where we've had to do our own sleuthing on the internet to try and find out more information of this person in the event that we had to do that. So that definitely was a unique challenge because you don't really know if that person is going to just kind of drop out of the chat, either a voice chat or a text chat. And so our staff members are constantly trained to try to suck in as much information as possible before that person breaks away.
Yeah, there's like really there can be true anonymity with some digital communities, and that really harkens back to very old suicide prevention days. We were answering the phone and it's really anonymous, and I see enough in the audience, I can't wait for you for the comment part. But like that's really a different suicide prevention skill than in our current crisis community, where we're used to being able to geolocate or identify and send rescue. In gaming communities, there is a good chance that may not be possible. Other things that are unique challenges.
Well, I wanted to piggyback off what you said and just say that.
No.
Okay. I'm so sorry. I apologize to the audience. It's really interesting because, I presented on something I think you did last year or the year before about the fact that in the crisis community, in the crisis intervention community, we're seeing a lot of that with our online, either chat or text-based services. So that's kind of meeting in the middle as far as the brick and mortar communities and these online communities. It's just anonymity is the currency of the internet, basically, or it will be very shortly as VPNs just become more and more common. People are able to.
For everyone in the audience, what's a VPN?
Oh, sorry, virtual private network. It's basically a way to mask your identity online so that people can't track you. And if you don't know what it is, you will, because it's coming for everybody, and it's going to be prevalent very soon. So we've been struggling with that for the past 2 years, and rather than just really trying to crack that barrier, it's really more about training our folk in our crisis intervention services to be like, well, you just have to be mindful of the fact that even though someone's masking their identity, doesn't mean that this is a lost cause. Like you are still talking with them, you're still having an interaction with them, and that is a basis for getting someone to safety, even if you can't get law enforcement or other emergency responders involved.
Wonderful. Other unique challenges or comments, Kelli?
So one in particular, which I think often doesn't get focused on as much because it is not necessarily direct service, but people who are streaming, like streamers are a huge part of the community of gaming. And most of them are not trained mental health professionals. And they have a very difficult job where they're trying to hold a space where someone might come in and share that kind of information. Not only is it open in public, there's really very little resources for those people who are holding those spaces to know how to respond and what is theirs to do. So for anybody who has that constraint and needs support, that's a major area that needs additional information, additional training, gatekeepers, things like that.
We built one.
I know, I was trying to
Oh, sorry.
Oh,
Sorry. We just spiked. Okay. Sorry. Impulsive internet.
I'm done.
Oh, okay. We know each other well. One of the other big challenges, and streamers have now been brought up, and so is the heterogeneity of gamers. It's not a monolithic, homogeneous construct. And going to a lot of gaming conventions and speaking to a lot of gamers, there are a lot who are reluctant to seek out mental health professionals because they are afraid that mental health professionals have a stereotypical view of what a gamer is, and as well as have an extremely negatively biased opinion of what gaming is.
Well, it's addictive and it's bad.
Oh,
Not.
that is my educated retort to that. But a lot of this is why viewing this as a cultural competency model is important. A lot of the streamers that I deal with personally that work with us say, I hate going to a mental health professional and pay them so I can educate them on what streaming is. And so, you know, the idea of being familiar with this stuff is, not being familiar with this is a huge obstacle for them seeking help.
I do want to give some credit to clinicians, because there are definitely, we can't know everything about everything. And so I definitely hear you on the cultural competence. I won't get on my soapbox about that till the time. But to your point, there is this idea of what a gamer is. Oh, if you play games, it's almost automatically seen as a bad thing. You know, every interaction I've ever had with a client, where they're like, whether they're wearing a gaming t-shirt or identity or something, it's like an instant report button. They feel
Absolutely.
that kind of, they know they're not going to be judged because they Call of Duty and Halo, yes, there's going to be judgment, as it should be not. But other than that, you know, it's like, you get me. We might not play the same game, but we're part of that same culture, and I'm not going to judge you for it. I'm not going to say, oh, you're addicted, and you know, playing this game to do bad things.
But what about all the people playing and watching football all weekend, every weekend?
There you
Have
go.
they extended to our higher form, or?
I think there is something really transcendental about like being half naked in the cold wearing cheese on your head.
Yeah.
Fantasy football is D&D for the people who used to beat me up.
Yes, yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
That's their cosplay.
But we had a comment.
So I'm not actually involved in the video game industry in a big way, so I can make waves and probably say stuff I shouldn't. But the larger game companies, I mean, the video game industry itself is just notorious for being very private, close to the vest. I mean, industry secrets are kept to be industry secrets. So getting buy-in from the largest AAA developers has always been a struggle. And obviously this movement, you know, to try to develop these resources in a bigger way is in its kind of nascent stage, but it would be a lot more helpful if some of these actual developers and publishers would kind of get on board and do things other than, you know, minor charitable contributions or whatnot. So that's been something that I wouldn't really qualify as a barrier so far, but it's been something that we're keeping our eyes on as this kind of really pushes forward.
Have you heard of the Fairplay Alliance?
Huh?
The Fairplay Alliance?
They're wonderful.
Yes, yeah.
Okay. Well, have you?
We can talk later.
What is the Fairplay Alliance? It's a kind of a coalition of large game developers like Microsoft and Amazon and those kinds of ones that are trying to take steps towards curbing online negative behavior. So trollish behavior, stuff that ultimately like actually hurts their bottom line, but it also makes it less enjoyable for players to play as well. And they're nascent. I think they launched at GPC last year, so they're a relatively new organization. They are trying to like set an industry standard of what behavior should look like in a game.
So this is your moment to break in. We've gone fast. We've kept you awake. Hopefully we've entertained you, but questions from the audience.
I'm wondering if sometimes we focus on like the VPN and anonymity issue, like it's a bad thing instead of a good thing. Like perhaps we are able to touch a population of people that never otherwise would engage with us, and maybe it means we can't do active rescue, which that's a separate thing. But like I don't know that we should be anyway. But like that could bring a whole different group of people to the table. It doesn't have to just be seen as like a barrier or a problem that we have to solve.
So I'm going to sum up for the people on Twitch, just to make sure that they can hear, because I think this is a great question. This is Jess Dolman-Rainey. She's a wonderful suicidologist, and what she's saying is sometimes we focus on anonymity among gamers as if it's a bad thing, and she referred to something about active rescue, and that means identifying someone who has connected to a crisis and sending law enforcement or rescue to their door, and that's a practice that's very common in crisis services. And she's saying that there is some benefit to anonymous crisis services. What does our panel have to say in response?
Oh, for sure. I mean, it's ridiculous. You know, our crisis center was one of the first crisis centers to provide online service, and it was A, completely different demographics than what we usually saw on phones, and B, at least for our internal statistics, our chatters were 80% likely to have suicide as one of the presenting issues that they wanted to talk about, and that's like from the jump, right? Not just like eventually. While with phones and whatnot, it's around 5 to 10%. Right now, some of that might be because of marketing and how our crisis is always marketed, but people just open up more when they have a screen in front of them. There's a vast amount of research that shows that people are just more likely to be more open about things. To the point where I think honestly the field, and especially the crisis intervention field, has struggled to keep up with that kind of demand. We weren't really expecting to have that kind of response in our online services. And especially like funding, national, state level, whatnot, has not caught up to the fact that these services are not going away, and they need to be expanded in ways to serve all that demand that's out there.
Other thoughts?
I'll jump in. I know that our staff is one of the first things they try to do, obviously the formal introductions, and we give that person the opportunity to either give them their real name or their gaming name. And so as the time progresses and they build up that rapport, sometimes that need for that, to be anonymous kind of drops, because they're now talking about the issues, and the person is feeling more comfortable, talking with the staff member, and sometimes they'll go back and they'll give them their real name, or they'll give them and disclose that address, because often if they're needing help with benefits, well, we need to find a local resource, so where do you live, and sometimes they'll give us that information because they feel more comfortable now since the conversation has gone forward.
You mean they'd like to have a relationship before they trust you?
I guess it's weird. I don't get it.
Yikes. Makes sense. Other thoughts or questions from the audience? Ma'am.
I just had a question. You had mentioned the stream team.
Explain what a stream team is.
Okay, so in this case, show me, who's not familiar with streaming? Seriously? Okay, thank you, you're brave, awesome. So streaming, okay, this is gonna date me on this one. Think of streaming as a combination of public access television and a call-in show, okay? You're laughing, but I'm not wrong. All right, so we are actually monitoring a chat that is going on right now, watching who are live commenting on what we are all talking about. And this is a beautiful community building opportunity. And one of the things that's really cool about this is there's now, I think the statistic is 500,000 people on Twitch alone who are streaming out of their bedrooms, their offices, and doing whatever. It's incredibly democratic. You can find somebody with 5 followers or 5,000 followers. It's wonderful. But so what we did at Take This is we consulted with an industrial organizational psychologist and built a behaviorally anchored interview system for streamers who were actively promoting destigmatization and acceptance of mental health and mental wellness and mental illness within their particular communities. Not just saying, hey, mental health is cool, actively promoting it. And so now, after going through this rigorous interview process, last year we had a team of 11 people who stream on their own channels of varying sizes and are actively promoting mental health acceptance and destigmatization on their channels. Now, other stream teams, I know StackUp has a stream team, they do it differently.
We have, it's myself and my co-host Hannah. We're both, master's degree educated level, and we have psychoeducational topics exactly to break down the stigmas of mental health. I use the hashtag mental health matters, and that's absolutely the truth. We always talk about, if you have an injury to your arm, you will obviously go into the hospital and get it treated. Well, why wouldn't you do the same thing when it comes to your mental health well-being? And so we discussed, for the last couple of streams, we were talking about gaming and how it's beneficial for your mental health. And we're going to continue to evolve and bringing in more guests, and we want to bring in more hosts and keep the conversation going.
Now, are there gaming communities that are not good for your mental health? And we all love you out there, and we may have comments, by the way, from which person. The answer is, no one's here to tell you that all of gaming is all net health positive. Much like any human relationships, gaming community, mental health relationships have to do with the people who are in the community. And there are very helpful communities, and there are communities that may not be as self-supporting. Did I see a hand raised? Ma'am.
Can I ask, I'm trying to know if some of the sexism that happens in gaming communities, are there different supports based off gender?
Yes. I'm sorry, the difference is what? Different, she said that there is some inherent sexism baked into gaming, and she said, are there different supports based on gender? So if you are, for example, a woman or gender non-conforming, would it be harder to get different kinds of mental health support in a gaming community? Or might you get treated differently, for example?
I still make sure none of that going to say anything, so I was just sit there and stare at them.
I'll take this first. Dr. Kelly and I have this.
Yes, there are several organizations that are women focused. Like the most famous one is probably the PMS Planet. Stands for Pandora's Run of Soldiers. It's benefits from the beginning, but it's now Pandora's Run of Soldiers. And it's an entire plan dedicated to like it's all about women gaining.
Now, what is a clan for them?
A clan is a collection of people who play a game together in a community. It's like a sports team. But you can have a franchise, so like, for example, the PMS plan, they've got a Halo team, they've got a Call of Duty team, they've got a Destiny team, and all different women come and play. There's very specific rules, like that wonderful word that starts with R and ends with PE and rhymes with great. Like that is not allowed to be said at any point when you're streaming with women as part of that plan. Like that's an instant visit from that group. And so that's one example. By and large, however, no. And that's the reason the vast majority of women who do either game or stream tend not to either show their face or talk verbally. They might type in chat or specifically take gamer tags that don't have a feminine sound to them, because otherwise you get
any women who are women gamers, yes, use the ever taken gender non-conforming name or a masculine name so that online you would get treated well. Only me and 3 other people. I've absolutely done that. And I can tell you, with using the same moniker, getting treated one way when people thought that I was male online digitally versus a different way. And so that there is definitely in gaming culture some things that could be better. And for women who are gamers, they have some extra rules.
Yeah, I love being mistaken for my husband's little brother.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, like we're close. Not like that.
Ma'am.
Yeah, so first of all, I feel like we started with your games. So, Divinity, Borderlands, Catan, those are my games that I love playing. As somebody who identifies as a gamer and who works in the field of suicide prevention, I've never heard of a lot of these organizations that are out there for the promotion of mental health. So, if we're in a situation where we hear somebody in a gaming chat room, or say we're working in our real world atmospheres, we hear somebody we know is gay, where can we direct them?
So first of all, I love that you pointed out that you're both in suicide prevention and a gamer, and this was still news to you. So I'm glad we're doing a value-added panel. And the second thing that you said is when someone is concerned about someone voicing crisis or suicidality in the middle of the gaming community, where are the resources? What should people do?
Well, we've got an entire list at takethis.org.
It's takethis.org.
Direct them to take this.
Well, yeah, we've actually got a growing page of mental health resources that have a variety of things on there. I think we have 14 therapist search directories. We've got a wonderful guide for how to find a therapist who works for you. It's probably our most utilized resource. We've got links to the National Suicide Prevention Lifeline, the Crisis Text Line, who we actually have a partnership with.
On the investment board.
Awesome. And so it's an ever-growing list of resources, and we're actually in the process of trying to add more international crisis resources, because currently a lot of ours are fairly North American focused. We've got some for Australia and the UK, but we're trying to add more and more as we go. So if you have suggestions, come find me afterwards, and I would love to incorporate them.
These are wonderful questions. Are there any more?
So I guess when you have your resource list, is it these therapists are gamer friendly, or it's more crisis focused?
Can I have a gamer friendly badge?
So is our resource list gamer friendly? So part of the challenge of Take This's mission is that because we're focused on education and destigmatizing, we can't really vet or recommend any therapist, but we've got some wonderful educational resources on how to provide, how to find a therapist who works for you. And we've started adding a list of clinicians who have volunteered with us at conventions. So we've started adding that as well. There's another really great organization that they just changed their name called Rise Against the Disorder, formerly Anxiety Gaming, who their whole mission is getting you in touch with a gamer therapist. And I think the last time I talked to their CEO, they had a list of 2,000.
And there are people out there, there's wonderful names for Jose Cardena and Geek Therapy, and it's on all the socials, who definitely is a therapist who incorporates gaming into what he does. And you can start to sort of, like in many social communities, talk amongst yourself and help feel out where the therapists are. I really recommend finding a therapist that is gamer conversant, just like you would find a therapist that is conversant in other areas of your life. It's really similar skill.
So I'd like to add to that just real quick. I am the chair for the International Game Developers Association Mental Health Awareness Special Interest Group, the IGDA.
Oh, word! What an expert pianist!
And so basically this group was developed specifically to address mental health issues in game developers, because they have a very specific set of issues they struggle with. And one of the things that we got feedback on is that they wanted a list of clinicians who they don't have to explain what crunch is. They don't have to explain what it's like to work on a death cycle, like you do in games. And
Did you
so,
like how we all were like, oh,
and so, you know, to cross the point of like,
can you tell the audience what a dev cycle is?
a development cycle for a game.
Yes, when you're doing technology development, like there are lots of deadlines and it really does create mental health challenges.
Yeah.
And, you know,
Crunch.
management and crunch
Yes.
and job stability. And there's a really great paper that TAPUS is putting out very soon on this for later.
One of our authors.
Oh my gosh, I'm gonna go share that with AAS.
I'm sure
Oh, we'll
they
share it with everybody who wants to read it.
times are seriously to get to, all these wonderful cycles that we went on, is that one of the things that came up is, yeah, we can't track down people who are like game fluent, that's too big of a task. But what we are trying to do right now as we get started is talk to something like Psychology Today and see if they will add something to their criteria list. So you have like, you know, anxiety and eating disorders and all this other stuff, and then they always have those little tags about like their modalities. And so what if you could put like tech savvy or maybe something a little bit more
Tech friendly,
or like,
tech conversant.
I know they're not twos. So
That's a theme and I'm not gonna even do that for you.
that's something that we're working on as well.
Do we have any questions or comments? I know you've been watching the feed.
No, they've just been a lot of cheering.
Oh,
yeah.
nice.
Woo, good job, audience, everybody. We are not even quite one more question.
I'm curious, has anybody come up with a response? As people working about suicide to when somebody in the gaming community says, types out KYS or kill yourself?
So what is a good response if someone says KYS, kill yourself? And there's all sorts, just like everything on about human culture, there's all sorts of jargon, nicknames, acronyms, things like that. Like, what do we do?
Well, I do know in StackUp, we have really great moderators, and there's just certain words like that would never be tolerated. Absolutely not. We have, when it comes to, I mean, think about it, we have a lot of veterans there, and veterans, you know, we kind of have that dark sense of humor at times, but most of us understand and recognize there's that certain threshold we don't cross, and when we try to pride ourselves on being very much aware in mental health awareness in our organization, certain words just, they have no place.
So I actually was head of the esports community for the Halo franchise for about 10 years. So every horrible thing that you can probably think of, having never read it, I've probably read it or seen it. But what I learned during my time as a community manager was that the community follows its leadership. And so if you are trying to develop a community, you set the standard and you need to lead by example. And so if you don't want that kind of terminology in your space, you have zero tolerance for it. If someone came into my stream and did that, I would instant ban them. And I would have my boss like send them a message afterwards saying, like, hey, we don't tolerate that here. That's not okay. Please don't use that kind of language. And then if they came back and did it again, 2 strikes, you're done. Like, you got the feedback. You know intentionally what you were doing.
Yep.
So like there's a one shot, and if you screw that up, then you're gone.
And that's what we do in therapy too. That was a joke.
Well, you have
No, so the reason to make that simply is to really point out a cultural difference, which is like language modeling happens very, very different, or behavior modeling very, very different in gaming communities versus a lot of the spaces that many of us as clinicians would be familiar with. Other questions?
What can we do in our own communities to reach out to, I've talked a little bit to Beau about this before. So I'm in Los Angeles. There's gaming agencies out there, right? I would like to partner with them and provide them with awareness training and things that we can do because we're right there. And
the American Association of Suicidology is also interested in partnering with gaming communities. We'd love to talk with you about that and support you.
And Take This is currently recruiting for a Los Angeles show in June, and we would love to have you volunteer.
That would be awesome.
Stack Up already has a presence in the Los Angeles area.
I was gonna ask when you like gaming communities, did you mean like developers or like organizations?
But,
Oh, okay, or the developers are harder to get to?
yes,
Because for some reason, they're kind of skittish about, professionals who've been telling them that their product is dangerous to people for like 30 years, and they don't want to trust them.
Something biases.
Something.
But doesn't Dungeons and Dragons make you suicidal? I learned that.
No.
I'll say
No.
Anyway, okay.
But if you want to get in contact with developers, the best place to start are ones who are doing pro-social games anyway. So indie developers or industry like minority media that have that kind of focus, and they're more open to it. But yeah, biggest reviews are going to be really careful about proprietary work, and nobody wants to have someone come into their place of business and go, hey, you're doing things wrong, or you're hurting people. So starting with like consultation is always really helpful. Like, hey, I see you're making a game about mental health, or mental health is in it. Can I review it for you? And that's part of what I do when I can. It's like, do you want a mental health audit on your game? Like, maybe you shouldn't say the word shrink. Maybe some people feel that kind of way about it. But if you're looking at companies, that's probably a good place to start and then develop an reputation with them.
I'll say that, I mean, we're joking about Dungeons and Dragons, okay? But on a really serious note, this tells you the lingering effect of negative bias. There was a 2015 study of Canadian psychiatrists, and they found that 22% of them still associated Dungeons and Dragons with psychopathology, okay? And so there's a really great book.
Did they not get out?
I don't know.
Sorry, Canada.
You'd think they'd play more D&D with those winters, but you know, there is a really great book written by Anthony Bean called Working with Games and Gamers, a Clinician's Guide. And there's an argument he makes in that book about being aware of your biases. Are you a pro-gamer? Are you anti-gaming? Let's get rid of that. Let's stop looking at things dichotomously, all or nothing, because with every advent of any new technology, there are pros and cons. And so we need to look at it more holistically. And so that's something you can do just in your day-to-day life. Just look at it holistically.
Oh, so like less black and white thinking, which we know is associated with psychopathology.
Shocking, right?
Oh, it's a good idea. So we would use our cultural competency and use balanced thinking when approaching new technology, new communities, and new games. I like that. It's a great idea. I'm going to move us a little bit to our sort of closing slide. Just a couple of questions. I think that technology platforms and various digital innovations are wonderful opportunities to address the problem of suicide at scale and to reach people who need us where they are. What are some things that we can do in gaming communities that isn't possible or likely elsewhere?
I mean, just the breadth of connections that you can have. I mean, if you can play with people all over the world, or people in your backyard, and that you're brought together by your shared passion for the game and not necessarily anything else. And so you have a connection, but you don't really have preconceived notions about who that person is, or maybe what they look like, maybe what they sound like. But yeah, I think it's a really great way to find people who share your interests in a way that is accessible, and it's where people already are. And so it's kind of like bringing the interventions to the what's it called, the common green?
Common space.
I don't know.
Help us out. But I mean, what you're saying is that I mean, honestly, does anyone remember the playroom where you found somebody playing the game that you liked and you could bond over that and support each other like very, very quickly, develop rapport and support? Which one of the things that we know for people at risk of suicide, isolation is a really, really big deal. And gaming brings people together. It's anti-isolation in many ways. Other things that are unique opportunities.
Well, I'm not sure this is necessarily, well, this is, okay. Media has a power to create hyper-truth. I mean, this has just always been the power of books. This has been the power of movies, television. But video games, and even things like tabletop role-playing games, are doing that in a way that is interactive. And that's unique in human history, to have this level of interactivity and immersion in the stories where you can truly become the hero yourself instead of just imagining yourself as such. And video games have the power to normalize. Video games, I mean, there's so many great, Edith Finch is, if you haven't played it. Oh my God, it's so good. But it has this ability to reach hundreds of thousands, millions of people, and teach them certain things from, you know, it's okay to be hurt and it's okay to seek out help. Sinuous sacrifice, so good.
Slow down and because I do know you get fish, and I know the other ones. Tell the audience what those are real quick.
Hellblade, Sinuous Sacrifice. Do you want to talk? You know, this is like your go for it. Go for it. I don't want to know how to take your thunder.
I just study games and things. It's fun. So the game Hellblade Sinuous Sacrifice was created by a game developer named Ninja Fury. And what they did is they wanted to tell the story of this mid-century picture woman who was experiencing psychosis, but doing it in a way that was incredibly genuine and authentic and respectful of the experience. So not only did they talk in development, throughout all of development, they brought in mental health professionals to talk about psychosis as a disorder, but they also brought in a group of former voice hearers who they would talk about their experiences, and the game developers would take that and make mechanics, make interactions in the game based on those experiences, bring them back to that group of people, and then fine tune, go through an iterative cycle again and again. And if you play that game, like the puzzles you saw and the experiences that cinema has are literally almost word for word taken from the shared experiences of the people who had heard voices or had some kind of psychosis that they'd experienced. And so it's not mental health tourism, and it's not a learning that beating you over the head with it. It's just this very pure, powerful story about a woman and her perception of the world.
And there were a lot of really great articles that came out in gaming periodicals like Kotaku and Gama Sutra about covering people who suffered from things like psychosis, who took that game and took it to their family, but this is what it's like for me. And their family suddenly understood it in a way they've never been able to explain.
And it's also important to point out that for some people that didn't mimic their experience of psychosis, which just raises the idea that many game developers, having one game about psychosis is enough. So if you hear that pushback, that's
and thank you for that game a lot of it, because I'm trying to finish my
Oh.
game when I get home.
That's that lovely lady in the back.
Could you please repeat the name of the game that you're speaking of? I'm not a gamer, I'm a game spectator. I have many games in my house, but I still consider myself like a gamer. So I really would like to actually try to play this game.
It's called Hellblade, Senua's Sacrifice. How do you spell Senua? S-E-N-U-A. And then the other game that we have mentioned is by Giant Sparrow, and it's, well, you're not in it right now, but it's called What Remains of Edith Finch.
Thank you.
Other thoughts? We want to make sure you get the Frag-O on both.
All the smart people here took my
Yeah.
They didn't take mine, so keep going.
I mean, I really just want to, what Dr. B was saying is just, I mean, gaming is the future of media. It really is. When you think about games, you can't just think of them as standalone. Games develop ecosystems around them, even like the smallest ones from indie developers, you know. So we have an opportunity here in our field to latch onto something where people can learn about, you know, mental health care, learn about suicide, learn about all these things in what I would say is like a safe and very fluid and honest way of presenting it. And then we can build off that to say, you know, if any of this resonates with you and you might need more help, here's immediate links to services by peer providers online, in person, you know, peer providers, licensed clinicians, you know, it's a different way to look at formulating how we merge how people interact with media and how they interact with the mental health world. And it's really exciting if we can get it going.
Jumping in, the last bit of information that I've learned here at this conference that really struck a chord with me is the VR technology and what it can do in terms of your mental health well-being. I've just been hearing a lot of really radical and impressive ideas of how gaming VR technology has finally caught up to what the scientific gurus are wanting to do in terms of helping people understand what PTSD is like, or schizophrenia is like, or how they can treat somebody in a virtual reality world. Now, VR in therapy is nothing new. The VA has been doing it for quite some time, but now that technology has caught up to it, there's a lot of impressive stuff that's on the horizon.
You know, I think it's really amazing that gaming communities who also, and this is just me as someone who's really interested in understanding the phenomenon of suicide like in a very big way, gaming communities can generate a lot of data. Gaming communities can do a lot of advocacy for each other. Gaming communities are open 24/7 in a way that is expensive and hard to do in brick and mortar ways in your community. Gaming communities can normalize mental health and help peers get to their wonderful at form handoffs, right? There are so many things that gaming communities are capable of just because there's so much technology and so much constant communication. I know many people don't want to be like always plugged in, but you have so much control over when and how you engage in a gaming community. And you have such an ability, in my mind, to find people like you, even if you're like me and you're just not like a whole lot of folks, you can find a couple that really speak to you. And it's like, if you just sort of level up the odds of finding good human connection, in my opinion. Other thoughts or questions from the audience?
And in Mexico, they just recently passed E-League for the high school. So next year, high schools will actually compete against each other in the districts and the state championships and stuff like that. What is your opinion on that type of?
Explain what it is. We just talked about E-Leagues. Explain what an E-League is.
I'm not a big gamer. I know it's where they play as a team against other teams and team-based type games. I don't know if they have specific games that they're utilizing for the rollout of it. I didn't know if that's considered a gaming community, I'm assuming.
Yes.
Yeah.
So what is your opinion on that being in high schools and like New Mexico out there?
What's your opinion on football being in high school? No, I'm actually really serious about this because, you know, this is something that we talk to parents about, and a lot of parents have a negative view of video games that even if it's just for fun, it's a quote-unquote waste of time. But the reality is a lot of these esports leagues operate the same way as any other team sport. It's a social activity with designated practice times, and oh, by the way, Division I colleges are starting to offer full scholarships for it.
And not to mention, it's very, very rare to get a concussion.
Boom.
Which I always try to point out to parents, like, you want your kid to go play football, okay, well, you know, what about when their kid is tendon tears, or they have their knee group, or something like that. TBI, like, if we were to think like 1,000 years in the future to an alien race, like, hey, we had this one sport where you sat at a computer and you played digital games and you had tactical shooters, but nobody ever got hurt, and then we had this other sport where we like bashed our heads into one another, what seems like a higher level of humanity? And you know, like, bashing ourselves together as being like the better thing to do, I think would be really awesome. So, but yes, I mean, colleges are recruiting for this.
And I want to say, shout out to Dr. Matt Miller, who's not here, who loves, you know, soccer and American football. I don't speak for her. Anyway.
But I did esports for a while. It's somewhat competitive. It is, like, it's intense. It's like digital chess on speed. It is really, really intense. There's so much strategy, so much communication, especially if you're getting into a game like Dota or Legends, where you're relying on your teammates to like carry you through, and everybody has their own role they play. And yeah, it's again, anything done to excess is excessive. So I will put that caveat out there. But if it's a way that they're coming together, practicing communication skills, teamwork in a digital space that they live in and will continue to live in, and they might get a college scholarship for it, sign my son up.
Or you could turn off technology. Once again, didn't land, but I want you to understand that digital communities aren't going away, so how you feel about them, it's probably wise to at least understand them.
Mine actually sort of is a question, a desire for involvement from you all. I come from California. In California, we have Proposition 63, the Mental Health Services Act. And specifically under that act, there's a component for innovation. So I would like to extend an invitation to communicate about this, to see if we can come up with an innovative project that we can pitch in our community for the veteran involved.
That'd be great.
Well, look at
I
that.
was watching a tweet, we just had somebody, community stakeholders say we'd love to involve the gaming community.
Perfect.
And that's
We're wrapping up, we have 3 minutes, so I'm just gonna be a little bit of a hammer. So, this is really asking the folks on Twitch, so I don't know, what's our viewership been like, or what's that stream look like?
It's very chatty.
very chatty.
We had like, what the last count was over 850 people.
So we were able to expand our reach by 850 people. If the suicide prevention community and the folks who are expert about this healthcare issue could be helpful to you or serve you in some way, what could we be doing that would make sense to you? We may not get to hear from you if there aren't chat items, but If we don't hear from you right in this minute, we would love to know. We are interested in your mental health, not just today, but many of you are young men. This will be a major healthcare issue for many of you as you age and you're viewing. We would love to be there for you, and we would love for you to tell us how.
Well, one thing I will do while we wait for questions is kind of to address the second point, is how can traditional SP stakeholders engage gaming community leaders? I can tell you, I've been going to cons and talking about mental health and games for about 10 years. And every year it gets more and more popular. And there was literally, I think the last PAX I was at, I was with 2,000 people and had to turn people away. And all I'm doing is talking about how games are not evil. Like just, I mean, for me, super basic level research. And like breaking down, like this is what they're saying, this is what it means. And if you look at the stats, you see that it doesn't level up. Look at all this other research that's contraindicated to that. And it is, like, I'm getting chills thinking about it because the amount of emotional response you get from the audience when you are normalizing their pastime and you're also educating them about how to, like, share that information with others, it's huge. And it's again, it's a gaming convention. You can have a huge platform. So if you were to go and to suggest a panel like this panel, but do it at like PAX. I've ever had a number of panel that was not completely booked out at PAX.
PAX, we'd love to bring a bunch of suicidologists to come visit.
Yeah,
Hey.
that'd be great.
Gen Con too.
All right,
Gen
so
Con.
we're going to close with contact information. So for the folks who are streaming with us or for the folks in the audience, how can we reach you all?
The easiest way to reach out to us is go to stackup.org.
Stackup.org, spelled just like it sounds.
Right there, it's got plenty of links.
If you want to reach me at my work address, you can go to builtbycommunity.org and go to the staff page and you can find me there. I'm the dude with the beard, and my fun fact about me is I can cuss in 5 languages.
Builtbycommunity.org.
Yeah.
Beau, Pinkham.
Otherwise, my Discord handle, if you want to friend me on there, is @refindme. So look me up there.
So my organization, which is probably the easiest one, is iThrivegames.org. Same thing on Twitter, and you can find me on Twitter, I live there pretty much, at Kelli N. Dunlap, so Kelli, the letter N is in Nancy, and then my last name is Dunlap, which is not the greatest Twitter handle, I'm going to spell it out, but I also have a card, and I'm very friendly.
So 2 things. One, you go to takethis.org on the webs. If you want to follow us on Twitter, it's @takethisorg. If you want to get in touch with me personally, I'm on Twitter pretty much constantly as well, and it is the Dr. B. That is @THEE. D is in doctor, OCTOR, because in boy.
And just to close this out, we're only 2 minutes over. I'm @Foreman on Twitter. You can find me all over the webs, or you can go to suicidology.org for information about the American Association of Suicidology. You guys have been wonderful. Thank you.